know you're a few years younger. This is why I like running these kinds of things past you. I don't know if it was like 8th grade or 9th grade, which is two different eras, because 8th grade is middle school, and that's Mr. Hammond, and 9th grade is high school, and that's Mr. Givens. But I feel like at some point, somebody must have gotten like a surplus of Jane Fonda, like jazzercise equipment that we had to do a whole unit on at one point. Did you guys ever have to do this? There was like these slick mats, and you had to wear those little like footy boots over top of your shoes.
Yeah.
Did you do this?
We did that. And then they also used to do, it was like the step up platform. So it's like probably like a 1.5 foot wide by 3 foot board that could stack on top of one another. And you you had different exercises where you had them long ways and like turn them 90 degrees, and you'd step over them and and the side to side. But yeah. The mat sliding, when you said jazzercise, that I was kind of like, I don't remember that. But then the board sliding, oh, hell yeah. I remember that.
Oh, dude. And everybody there. And this was the greatest moment. Now, was this high school or middle school?
I gun to my head, I want to say middle school, but,
I feel like it was 8th grade, like Mr. Hammond.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I feel like collectively everybody decided, hey, we're going to fucking do this. You know why? Because they told us to. And what's more annoying for a bunch of middle schoolers to be doing? Exactly what you told them. Fucking malicious obedience. I feel like we were all out there like a fucking Paulo Ono fucking going down. Oh, you want jazz legs for grades? I'll give you the grades, right, baby. Here they go. Guess what? I'm gonna give you jazz hands because I want to, and sparkly fingers because I feel like it. That's extra credit, baby.
Like, indestructible ACLs as well. No one, even the people out of shape, the morbidly obese people, they weren't going to tear their fucking ACLs. You're elastic at that point. Fast forward, you do that 10 years later, someone prone is going to fuck their knee up. Had to cancel the class.
The more I think back now as an adult, knowing that I'm the age that these phys ed professors, we'll call them professors.
Sure.
These phys ed teachers were like, I'm their age now, right? And I have to then impart this knowledge to kids. Can you imagine the school giving you a curriculum where it's, all right, we want to teach the kids aerobic exercise, and we bought you this. Can you utilize this, Mr. Hammond? And then Mr. Hammond taking a big fucking drag off a fatty. You gonna pay me? Yeah, we'll pay you. I'll fucking do it.
This isn't gonna affect my my bottom line. Yeah. That guy probably was just like, I mean, okay, we're 4 years apart, and I'm assuming not too long before you, he probably still had boys putting on football helmets and using them as battering rams against other guys. I'm going to teach y'all a 3-point stance and how an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman go against one another. And then, fast forward, 7-8 years later, like, oh, we're going to do this jazzercise type of exercise. It's going to take over an entire curriculum for a marking period. And he's like, fuck it. Whatever.
Okay, well, let's do the math here. So my first year of high school would have been 1992, 92, 93, then 93, 94, 94, 95, 96, 97. So yeah.
No. You went 90, 95, 96, 97.
No.
93.
Okay, 90. Wait, let's do this. Okay, freshman
94.
year. 90. I'm going to do this. Freshman year, 92, 93.
No, it's 93, 94. I know you better than you.
Hold your asshole here a second. I'm just let me do it my way, and then if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. 92, 93, 93, 94, 94, 95, 95, 96. So you're right. 93. Okay. So my last year of middle school would have been 1992. So my first year of middle school.
We just went out. It would have been 93.
You're right. Okay. So what was my first year of middle school, Wes? 89?
90.
Okay. Man, think about that. Like, I mean, we're talking about era shifts, man. We're talking about, like, going from, like, jean jackets and jean shorts to fucking Zumbas and fucking Lycra and bike shorts. I remember I wore bike shorts
some
one
real
time.
Corey Haim stuff.
Yes, it was. or was it Corey Feldman?
It depended upon your flavor. Some like one, some like the other, some like both. It was a big Venn diagram.
I think the
You
ones
had
that
your
were,
outliers.
I think the ones that like Corey Haim were chicks. The ones who like Corey Feldman were chicks, and the ones that like both were chicks.
You can't tell me License to Drive isn't entertaining. All right.
That's a great movie. That's a really good movie. That's a coming of age story.
So back to 1990. You're sitting around, you're pissing around. You got what? Fucking these jean shorts on.
Yeah. No, I'm just what I'm getting at is like so 1990 was a long time ago now. Obviously, I'm not good at years and math.
Well, yeah, no shit. People who were born that year are turning 33.
Holy goddamn!
Yeah.
And here I was being afraid I was going to get stuffed in a locker and have to get naked in a shower.
Yeah, it's a good point. And you did get naked in a shower. That's okay.
For like half a second.
Yeah. I don't remember that they were definitely trying more so in like high school. This is a weird one. High school gym class. They had a guy who was out of school for a couple years. You probably remember him. I'm not going to name him by name. It's not going to make any difference. But he, through probably middle and high school, did martial arts, did like kind of your traditional karate. And then they thought it would be like, oh, it'd be a great idea to get him back and then do like a week's worth of like karate instruction. So for a week I wasn't even taking gym class at this point. I was taking cross training, which was like your, I don't know, junior year. Like, Christ, I'd like a period where I don't have to think about anything. I can just run around and look at girls. But yeah, no, he came in and led. It was like, all right, left punch, go, right punch, yeah. Right kick. Oh, someone comes at you, you jump, you do a ninja roll. All right, let me see him. Yeah. It was Monday through Friday. And this guy who was 2 years older than us, by the way. I mean, we were juniors. He was he was in school a couple of years before that. Like, I fucking know you, man. Like, you sure as hell weren't goddamn Mr. Miyagi fucking leading us through
Well,
punch exercises.
you say that, but like William's in jiu-jitsu right now, and there's this kid, I think he just turned 16 because I think he just started driving. And I'm looking at this kid and he's like my size, but obviously like that much younger than me. And, right. But he's pretty high up on the.
No. You're missing my point here.
I know your point. Your point is like you are a guy that I know that I'll probably see at a party this Saturday night.
Not even that. My point is, okay, if this person who's coming to be a guest or a secondary instructor at Williams Jiu-Jitsu class, that's what you're saying? Okay. That's different. The public school system solicited this guy to come into the gym class and have him give people who are trying to like just have a basketball elective stand in front for a week and go like, right punch, left punch, right punch.
Okay. Fair enough. Yes, yeah. That apples to pineapples.
Yeah, sure.
You're 100% right. I know.
There's a TPLES in there, yeah.
Okay, but I will say, what I was getting at is though, like that guy might have been really good at the craft, and so like for whatever reason, if they were trying to teach some sort of martial art, like maybe he was okay to come in there because I know that this kid. I actually want to ask Williams' jiu-jitsu coach, hey, can I get on the mat with Mike? Because I know he's 16 and I'm almost 44. And I just want to see if my old man strength can combat his jujitsu brilliance. Like, I understand that he's like got this skill, but I've also got, and I'm in shape now. So I'd like to see if I can beat a 16-year-old who is fully trained in a discipline.
Yeah, I think honestly that'd be a good, I mean, because jujitsu, yes, you can fuck someone up royally in jiu-jitsu, but in a competitive format like that, there is tapping out.
Yeah,
you can win in a jiu-jitsu battle without seriously damaging someone's whatever,
Yeah.
face, extremities, bones.
The more I watch this, the more I watch these, like, even though, William's fucking 8 years old, like, the more I watch even these kids, I'm like, I get it. This is how fights are ended. Like, he's starting to finally get to the point where, like, they're showing them stuff like, this will choke a person out. This will cut the blood supply off to this. This move will do this. And I'm like, holy shit. And they're not wildly complex. It's just your brain doesn't know how to get there unless you've, like, calmed yourself down to be like, oh, there's his arm. Good night.
I think Jiu-Jitsu 1, I mean, it's this is coming from someone who's never taken or practiced or done anything in Jiu-Jitsu, just having read about it and listened to other people, practitioners discuss the art of Jiu-Jitsu. One, it's like a chess match on the floor. You're thinking about, if someone else is combating you who's skilled in the art of jiu-jitsu, you're trying to think about 5 moves ahead, and then 3 moves ahead they do something, then you have to, like, counter, et cetera, et cetera. One, the cardiovascular, like, I've rolled around with someone who was just explaining a few things to me and was winded. Like, the shape you have to be in, not just cardiovascular wise, but core body is incredible. And yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. This is why, like, when UFC first started, jiu-jitsu won for the most part. I mean, the Gracies were beating these big, strong dudes. And they're like, what the fuck is this? Like, rolling around the goddamn floor like me and my brother having a pillow fight? Like, no, dude. Like, he's choking you the fuck out.
Yeah.
You can't bash him in his face because he's nullified that. No,
and this is me. Because I want to actually do it, but it's like $150 a month. So I'm like,
no, that's just for your kid.
So I'm like,
that's just for your son.
$75 once a week. Dude, I'm paying like $75 a month for him to go 4 times a month. And so I'm just sitting there like, all right, I think I got it. I might even buy like a dummy. So like when I get home from taking him to practice, I'm like, I'm going to practice all that shit they just showed William now. Like, I feel like I'm getting like a little bit of like a cursory knowledge of it just from sitting on the sidelines. And I want to try it on this 16-year-old because
that's right. I want to show you what you've taught me. Kind of.
On a child.
Yeah. So William's what now? 8?
Yeah.
Do you worry about him being 16 and being like a black belt?
Yeah.
And getting mouthy with you?
Sure, I do.
What are you gonna just fucking put a hot iron on his chest or something? Or
I think
maybe get some electron, like some sort of stun gun, or like what do the Mounties have? What do they carry?
What the black jacks?
Well, maybe not real Mounties of Canada, but the Mountie in the WWF in the late 80s had that shock stick. It was like that.
I don't think it was supposed like a stun gun, like a cattle prod.
Yeah, but it was more shaped like a billy club. It was about 2.5, 3 feet long, and the end of it, and it. Listen, the character's prop said shock stick right on the side, so it had to be authentic.
By the way, I was watching a Hot Ones the other day. I'm talking about what they eat, the hot wings. Hot question.
Oh, they interview celebrities while they're eating hot wings. Yeah. Okay.
And they Kieran Culkin was on there, and he's a big wrestling fan. Okay. And they were asking him, like, who do you think the best actor that's come from the WWE is? And like, well, everybody thinks it's The Rock. Everybody thinks maybe John Cena. And he's like, I got to tell you, I think it's Batista. And he said the reason I think it's Batista is because his character in the WWE was absolutely terrible. He sucked. And look how much of a megastar he's become since then. It's like he hated him in the WWE, but he loves him as a Hollywood actor. So it's like they gave him the wrong character to portray in the wrestling ring.
In the wrestling ring. That's interesting too, because I'm not saying that we'd had to deep dive into wrestling stars who have then become actors, either part-time or full-time. I mean, The Rock's a full-time actor now. And he's probably starred in more films than any other former pro wrestler. More than Hogan, more than Cena, and more than Piper. But I mean, Batista's he was in that that remake of Blade Runner with Ryan Reynolds. He's in this new M. Night Shyamalan movie where
They're in
they
the
kill somebody.
cabin. Yeah.
Yeah. And
All the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
his character as Guardian of the Galaxy is goofy, but that's, I mean, that's he plays an alien more or less.
Well, he plays. Dude. How hard is it to be a comical straight man? Like Drax the Destroyer is hilarious because he doesn't know he's hilarious. Like, how do you play that? Like, you can't even see me. I've trained myself to stand so still that I look invisible.
I'll ask you another. Why is Gamora? Yeah.
And by the way, that was an impromptu line. That was not in the script.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I haven't seen the Shyamalan movie. I want to. What's it called? It's like The Mist meets the Village or something like that.
Yes, The Mist in the Village.
This is actually when I was teaching at Sally's.
It's the door next door or something like that. I don't know what it's called.
The door meets the other door, and when you open that door, you see Jim Morrison.
It's like Wayne's World 2, but better.
When you open that door, you come out to Wayne Stock.
The doors are playing.
That's right. But Jim Morrison singing "Dead" in the tub. Christ! I think we just made a really good movie there. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any of these movies. Well, I haven't seen that movie with Dave Bautista. But yeah, no, he's carved out a pretty good. And I will like. I mean, he got into the biz later. And I think when he started doing these movies, I mean, he was already in his 40s. I mean, he's got to be in his mid 50s now.
Well, he turned 50 last year, which is why he said this is going to be his last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, no matter what. He's like, I can't keep myself. I'm a big dude. I can't keep myself in this kind of shape for these kinds of roles. So yeah,
that's kind of like a Hugh Jackman thing too with Wolverine. He was saying that. I mean, he was Wolverine for 13 years.
He's doing it again, you know.
Is he? He died. He died in fucking.
He's going to be in the next Deadpool movie as Wolverine, but the movie's going to take place before
Logan.
Because Logan took place in the future, like 2030.
Yeah,
so it'll take place before that. So that movie that timeline still exists, but yeah, and apparently Hugh Jackman was doing some like Broadway show where he was singing and dancing. And so he said, I'm still...
Jazzmastizing?
He's jazzmastizing. He's giving the sparkle fingers.
They took it from Perryville Middle all the way up to fucking Broadway. Look at that.
So he said, I'm still in really good shape. He's like, I'm just going to have to murder a couple thousand chickens over the next couple of months and hit the weights hard. So, yeah, he's going to do it. He's going to give it one more go. But I do think that the best WWE actor... when the tail of the tape... Now, The Rock's going to have made more money than anybody, but I think it's John Cena. He did this Netflix series, what's it called? The Patriot, what the fuck is it called? I can't remember what it's called. Captain Patriot or some bullshit like that. Anyway, dude, it's fucking great because he's got some really emotional scenes, but he is like this fun-loving, like, ignorant superhero, and he's damaged. He's emotionally damaged, but he doesn't realize it. And so he's like almost like childlike, and it's great. It's John Cena is a great actor. I wouldn't have said that until last year.
He was good in have you seen Trainwrecked? With Amy Schumer?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and he plays the boyfriend in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, and he's having sex with her, and she's like, I want you to talk dirty. He's like, oh yeah, okay. Ooh, I'm gonna give you my full pecker. Incredibly good. Yeah. Middle Class Souls, everyone. Shit, we're 20 minutes in. Murr and Foxman, no Alan. Alan's Christ. We've seen some updates. He's in. Was it Cabo or is he in?
I don't know, Carmen Del Rey or some shit like that. I don't know. He's somewhere where they've got drinks on tap. It's all inclusive. Some Guy named Miguel is bringing him everything
Yeah.
he wants, and Alan probably hasn't moved from a cabana fucking in 3 days.
No, his Kelly says, "I want to go to bed." He's like, "Yeah, go to bed, babe. You do you. I'm just gonna sit right here. This Mexican John Cena is feeding me fucking
Juan Cena.
Juan Cena is feeding me drink after drink after drink. He has. I will. He has messages because again we correspond throughout the week. You know, we're trying to get some bits, and we talk about some of the comments that are made, and you know, try to vet storylines and things like that we're going to talk about. And you could tell at some point, I don't know, like mid afternoon, when old Alan's been going at it for about 3 or 4 hours.
The messages just keep coming.
It's like, dude, you're on vacation, and then but like. I never said that. I was going to say that. I like thought about what he would say. Is like, yeah, I'm on vacation drunk. I'm enjoying myself. This is what I do. You guys got me going.
Yeah, well, and that's fun, especially like, okay, I get it. Like, you should take your phone out of your hand, but if you're having a jolly old good time and it's whimsical, then fucking continue. Why not? You got no responsibilities. Who cares? Like that shit we were going on about earlier, man. That was just, that was fine. Talking about that lady, the doula.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so Alan gives a very, I don't know, high level difference between midwives and doulas, or doula if you're gonna singular. Yes, and someone said something about that's not right. I responded, please elaborate. They responded, just use some common sense. And Alan's like, oh, give me the fucking login to YouTube. I'm going to respond to her. Fuck her. All right.
I feel like her response means we were pretty fucking close to the line. And considering we're not experts, we're just using our common sense to figure out what it is you do. And if you can't explain it without saying use common sense, then you can't explain it any better than we did.
Yeah, the burden of proof is then on us. People who aren't midwives or doulas or who haven't stepped foot. One of us, you, was in a birth and baby unit one time. 8 years ago. I'm certain you weren't paying attention to, you know, the anesthesiologist, the nurses, all the staff. Like you're that astute and that focused on the person who's training your son in jiu-jitsu. That's when you're concentrating. That's when you're goddamn cued in on all the details.
That's right? Because I need to learn how to choke my kid out 10 years from now.
That's right. That's it. Or just kick him in the penis, man. It's like, all right, just fucking boot him. Give him an old, you know, a late 90s jazzercise fucking free kick. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I got into one fisticuff thing with my dad, and he cheated.
Well, I think that's fair game.
Yeah. I mean,
wait, but hold on. How did he cheat?
I had dislocated my pinky the day before playing basketball, and I had a splint on it. Okay. One of those like cheapo drugstore, you know.
Yeah, like aluminum. You can bend it wherever
you can bend it. Yeah. It's basically to keep it from flexing. Yeah, and I don't know. We got into it a little bit of a shoving match. He went to punch me. I pushed his head through a PVC pipe, not through it, but just like he deflected off of it, and he reared back to punch me again. And I pulled him back through it because I didn't want him to punch me. I wasn't going to throw a punch, and then he ripped the brace off and yanked my pinky about 3 or 4 times, which put me on my knees and I went.
Look, that's experience.
Yeah, I know.
That's experience over honor. But I'll tell you what, man, you find the weak point and you fucking put your finger in it.
The thing was, like, I ripped my hand out. Well, I ripped my pinky out of the brace and just ran out of the fucking basement. And abandoned. Well, the reason he came down all pissed off is I had 30 people down in the basement partying. I ran out. There was 29 people in the basement partying. Well, they'd stopped drinking. Pretty much, like, their attention was focused on us. I just like told my friends, like, "Fuck you." Got in my car, left. Y'all deal with them. I don't give a shit. Fuck you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'd say your dad won that one, hands down.
I think someone, a good friend of mine, was like, "Oh, Foxy, I'll get him out of here." So, all right, thanks. Good night. Left. Yeah, maybe told everyone to get the fuck out, just as like a parting gift. You gotta do that.
Of course, you had 30 people in your fucking downstairs dugout basement. It used to be me, Dewey, and like 3 other people, and then it became you and your graduating class.
Yeah, I mean, we took a few liberties. Definitely expanded upon a few things that you guys enhanced. I mean, to start it off, Dewey had a few little small gatherings down there, and I wanted to push the envelope as a younger brother, and the envelope got pushed and folded open and cut 3 times and made it into a fucking giant swan haiku ball.
Like I just appropriated every Asian culture there is. Well done.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And by a quick break, I mean you're going to hear a 15-second interlude about Murr talking about warm chutney. And when we come back, Adam from the Big Apple is going to join us on Asking for a Friend and Fun Fact Friday. Stay tuned.
Like a warm, creamy chutney. Get ready for another spoonful of the middle class holes.
Welcome back to the Middle Class Holes. Shit's falling on the floor here. My recording stuff. Murr, Foxman. I almost said Alan. Alan's not here. He's enjoying a margarita beachside with some big-breasted
Monkey butlers.
monkey butlers. That even doesn't make any sense. Anyway, in his place, at least in part, joining us from the Big Apple once again, our legal correspondent on Asking for a Friend, Mr. A. Calvert Esquire. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
All right, Murr, you have 3 stories. You're going to set up the pins, and Adam is going to legally.
You've only known me for 35 years.
You're missing
plus.
I know, and you're missing the guy, aren't you? You're missing Alan down there with his wife at Sandals Resort or wherever the fuck he is.
It's open-toed resorts. It's not even couldn't even get into sandals. Anyway, you're setting up the pins. Adam's going to legally knock him down. Let's have at it.
All right, here we go. Tonight on Asking for a Friend. Now, we had this other story last week. It's a woman who was cited for honking her horn, and she lost her First Amendment case. But I wanted to butt it up against this story that's coming out of our great white friends to the north, the Canadians, where giving someone the middle finger is, quote, a God-given right that belongs to all Canadians, a Quebec judge said recently as he acquitted a Montreal man of criminal harassment and uttering threats. In his ruling, Quebec Court Judge Dennis Gastelacalacados wrote that not only was Neil Epstein not guilty, but the fact that he was arrested and prosecuted was as bewildering as an injustice as he had ever seen. Quote, to be abundantly clear, eh? That sounds Australian.
Greek Australian.
It's not a crime to give someone
Guy's got
the
a
finger.
Greek name, an Australian accent, and he's from Quebec, right? I just want to make sure we got all the facts straight here before we move on. All right.
A bit weird.
All right.
Dead on. He said, flipping the proverbial bird is a God-given, charter-enshrined right that belongs to every red-blooded Canadian. It may not be civil. It may not be polite. It may not be gentlemanly. Nevertheless, it does not trigger criminal liability. Now, this is coming from our friends from the Great White North who don't have freedom of speech as it's recognized here in the United States. So we throw that up against this where a woman was honking a horn at a protest, and a police officer said that she honked the horn 14 times as she drove past, and then she was ticketed for harassment and then took it to court. She said that it was an expression, it was freedom of speech, and that she should have her rights upheld and this whole infraction should be thrown out, yada, yada, yada. But the judge ruled that honking your horn is not a form of free speech. Why is that, and how are the two the same and different?
So I guess the reason, the distinction I would make between the two of them is that the woman who's honking her horn, the honking of the horn could be a potentially dangerous thing to do, right? You're alerting somebody. If you're driving and somebody all of a sudden starts honking at you, you might, oh, geez, whoa. All right. So you don't want to, it's like yelling fire in a crowded theater, right? In a way.
I guess, but in a way, but I would say in this instance, there was a protest. People gathered around, and she's disagreeing with this protest, she claims, and so she's like, fuck you, shut up, fuck. Like, I'm imagining what each horn blast in her mind sounds like. So, yeah, it's not, I don't think it's an instance where that would be miscategorized for, hey, look out.
Right. But see, I think the thing is the statute, or at least from what I read in the articles, was that was the reason it was enacted, allegedly, was to prevent people from, using it in a way to express themselves, but inadvertently causing an accident. Now, they did, I think, question the police officers about that, and there's no reported case of that ever happening. So you see what the real reason behind the law is just it's a shut up law. That's all it is.
Yeah.
This is called the I prefer the don't be a jerk rule. Mm-hmm. If you break the jerk rule, you might get fucked.
Now, see, there are, I do see signs, at least here in New York, and I don't know if they got to be in other cities, where you're not allowed to honk. Right? They say like, no honking. Violation, they can fine you. So I don't know. You can say,
no, but how is that even a thing? Like, what if you do need to alert someone?
No. I mean, I think that's fine. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that you can't honk, but it's just like, don't honk to tell somebody to move out of your way or aggressively. I don't know. See, I think that's why I'm kind of surprised that even those laws are around here, or I see those signs here, because how do you distinguish what the intention was behind the honk?
Yeah, I mean, what if you saw a long lost love or I hate to say it, but a piece of ass from yesteryear that you hadn't seen in a while, like, oh shit, hey, is that ticketable?
Apparently in the communist city of New York, apparently it is. But I like what you've done here, and I would again, I'm not an attorney and I'm not trained, but I would use that against you in a criminal trial. Is that you were attaching intention to the honks. You were like if you were honking aggressively. And I think instinctively we all know what the honks mean. Like if you're sitting at a red light staring at your phone, the light turns green, you hear like burp burp. Oh, sorry, you're right. That was a very polite honk. But if it's like, hey, fuck you, man. My kid was calling me from school. He just punched the guy in the face. Like I'm going to do you. Like we know the intention behind the horn.
Curb Your Enthusiasm bit about that. Where he honked the horn because the person was like too long at the red light, and he's like, "No, I wanted." It was a new car. He didn't know the sensitivity of the horn. Then he did it to a cop, and the cop was like, "That was way more than a red light honk, buddy. I'm citing you up."
Mm-hmm. Oh, and so actually, I've been looking this up here. So, it is actually illegal to. This is a law similar, I guess, to what they had in California under Section 24-237 New York City Code says. No person shall operate or use or cause to be operated any klaxon installed, I guess that's a horn, except as a sound of immediate danger or in connection with use as an audible motor vehicle burglar alarm. So yeah, basically the same thing as the California one.
Full disclosure, next time I get in someone's car from the passenger side, I might honk and be like, that's a klaxon horn. That's nice. I like that. It's got a good tone. Got a good buzz to it.
I've never heard that. Never heard that term
Klaxon installed.
Look at you. You probably got a Gucci watch too, don't you? You high dollar motherfucker.
Okay, the last thing I want to say about this particular story is, is the horn though then not an extension of your voice, though you're trapped inside this metal box? Isn't the horn a way for you to express yourself from a confined space.
Reading actually a little bit more about this New York City thing, because this actually is kind of fascinating to me. There was a federal court ruling that found that it was constitutional, by the way, and they found that here at least, the horn honking is the number one noise complaint. Right? You're in a city with packed people. You can't be honking unnecessarily and waking everybody up, you know. So that makes sense to me.
Thought it was a city that never sleeps.
And that's
It's I mean it's like the whole city individually. We do have to sleep.
okay. So, but see that I would also chalk up to like if I was out in the city street like just like yelling like hey. Like, you could come and, give me a fine for, disturbing the peace. So, again, still an extension of my own verbal capabilities or lack thereof because I'm behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
And what you could do the same argument, too, for the person yelling, right? And how much is too much yelling at your friend or like if you're drunk and loud, hey, that's a citation right there. That's unnecessary. You're waking people up. First,
I'm almost willing. I did New York City sound effects on YouTube. There's the first. Christ, this thing's gotten 1.3 million views. 10 hours worth of sound effects. Let's see. Sounds, traffic, Times Square. You ready? All right. Well, of course I get an ad. God damn it!
It's just gonna be a robber.
This is from the rain. It's some. Rain sleeping. Sorry. Here we go.
We'll get to the ambient. Okay, some ambient New York City noise. Adam, I want you to tell us if this is actually comparable.
Oh, you guys. I heard a shotgun. I heard 2 for 5s over here. All right. There was some intermittent honking. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure out this Riverside FC where you guys can hear it. My apologies.
My area is actually pretty quiet, so that was very similar to what my outside sounds like.
All right.
Moving
on to a quieter neck of the woods.
I thought we were going to discuss the fuck you bird.
Oh. Well, I mean, then what's the difference between like one's inaudible but apparently offensive, and one is audible and not really offensive but just annoying? But isn't one more aggressive than the other? So the middle finger, I would say, is a more aggressive tactic to use as a form of communication, which apparently the Canadians fully recognize as a freedom of expression and speech. Now, you pair that up with the horn, where there's actually expression and actually like an action that's being verbalized in a way. How are they different?
I think it's the distinction is the noise, right? So it's a nuisance to other people. The horn is, and this, I guess, the safety concerns potentially of unnecessarily using a horn. The finger might offend somebody, but other than that, it does nothing to anybody else, right?
Yeah, but I feel like it amplifies aggression. I feel like the horn, you can write it off depending on the circumstance. There's no circumstance where you're giving the finger, except maybe if I do it to you guys, where it doesn't instantly
what's the difference
aggravate the
between
scenario?
Giving the finger and saying "fuck you," right? So now are we saying it's not okay to say "fuck you" to somebody? Because if that's what we're saying, then I'm moving.
I've always wondered about people who did
I guess,
both,
okay, and
the finger and fuck you. I mean, they're kind of, it's like mutually exclusive. Why don't you say dickhead or asshole?
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, I've got a good line like, hey, in case you can't read, fuck you. Right?
You know what this means in sign language? I don't. I have no idea.
All right. Well, moving on to quieter pastures, a judge in Delaware has ordered a businessman to hand over a $125,000 parcel of land to his neighbor after she kept her goats on the land for over 20 years and claimed squatters' rights. Burton Banks. What a man. If that's not the name of a fucking multimillionaire, I don't know what it is. Burton Banks, an Atlanta-based financial advisor, inherited the uninhabited plot of land in Ocean View, Delaware from his father, Ralph. In 2021, Banks and his husband, David Barrett, decided they wanted to sell the plot of land, which sits empty and undeveloped. But he discovered that around 2/3 of an acre was being used by his neighbor, Melissa Schrock, who had erected a pen for her goats on the land. Quote, "It's just always been my backyard since I was a little kid," she said. Banks took her to court to try to reclaim the land, but Schrock claimed squatters' rights, explaining in her counterclaim, "It was just always my backyard since I was a kid." That was it. That's all she went to court with. Judge ruled on her behalf, and so how is this a thing? Like, I get it. Like, if I've got an open space behind my house and I don't know where property lines are, I might just use it. But then that usage of it makes it mine.
Real quick, you said, what was the name? Burton Banks? Isn't that the person who traded bodies with Fred Savage? You know, one was elderly, one was a kid. They got into a car wreck.
Which one was that?
I think it's called Trading Bodies or something. I don't know. It's actually...
No, it's not called Trading Bodies. There's no producer in Hollywood that would greenlight that movie. Didn't it have Judge Reinhold as the guy? I thought that was the one that Fred Savage traded bodies with.
I think you guys are both thinking of Freaky Friday.
No, it's one of the Coreys, and it's Merlton Banks or Merle Banks or Edward Milton Berle. Yeah,
Milton Berle.
Edward Burlehans.
Edward
Wow,
Milton.
this movie has
Berle
quite
is
a cast. I mean, there's like 20 big names in this thing.
I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Adam, guys, of course, I look up, I misspell Haim, and there's a goddamn Corey Haim NASCAR driver. All right, I'll get to the bottom of this. Adam.
All right.
Okay, squatters' rights. Does Fred Savage have rights to Milton Berle's land?
Yeah, so this is a thing. I don't think most people maybe know this is a thing, but it is strangely. It dates back to... probably the mid 19th century expansion westward, and the idea was that if you're not using your land and somebody else is using it and taking care of it for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it might be, then at some point you're entitled to it. You've been doing stuff with that land. I mean, that was the idea back then, is that you want to use land, get the coal out, get the gold out, get the resources. And if somebody's not doing that, well, then somebody should make use of it. So yeah, it's a thing.
Okay, what if you left and you were like, okay, I'm gonna leave now, and I'm gonna put all these fancy I don't know, you're gonna terrace the land in some capacity, maybe like farm it, put some exotic plants out there and all that, and then your neighbor's like, well, that guy's been gone for like a decade. I'm just gonna start letting my goats go over there and graze, and then you destroy this landscape that he had purposefully put together to be there when he got back. And would that still, if he could prove that he planted these particular growable things out there, and that they were destroyed by her, could he then reclaim the land from her?
Well, so I will say this does vary from state to state, adverse possession law, but the elements of I guess what you consider common law, or the sort of standard or general standard, doesn't really have anything to do with that. You basically just have to be there for a certain amount of time. Delaware, I guess, is 20 years. New York, here, it's 10. And that you just have to be there basically illegally and actually possess the land openly, right? And the owner can't come back and say, get off, right, for that 10-year or 20-year period. That's it. So it doesn't really matter if you did something unintended with it. That's not usually an element. Now, I will say that states have been enacting recent statutes. For instance, New York did, basically making it harder to make an adverse possession claim, because I think the states are realizing that this is kind of a crazy, antiquated sort of thing. But it's on the books most places. I would say every state has some form of it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, one of our good friends, Jimmy, was affected by it. He sold his house. Well, actually, was renting his house, and people claimed squatters' rights, quit paying rent, and were there for about 6 months. And you would not. He didn't take pictures. I helped to clean. I said I offered to help clean up afterwards. He's like, you don't want to come up here. You don't want to see what these people did to this fucking place. We've got people next door at my old place. Now I don't know if they claimed squatters' rights, but yeah, it baffles my mind, especially here in Baltimore and some of the surrounding counties, what they're able to do. They're able to live rent free for 3 months in most cases.
So what I think I guess it's sort of a distinction between the two, right? Because you have those sort of situations like you're talking about, which is usually like a tenant situation where the owner knows that you're there and they want you out or whatever, right? But adverse possession is you get to then own the house or the land, and the owner doesn't know that you're there possessing it, but you have to be openly having it. So it's a different idea. It's sort of like lost land, right, or lost property. Finders keepers in a way.
So what if I knew? What if I knew that I was going to be taking a job overseas and it might keep me for a decade? Now, what if before I left, I hooked up a Kevin McAllister style Christmas silhouette scenario where Michael Jordan's moving his way back and forth through the living room, proving that I intend to keep this property. I'm trying to keep squatters away, yet someone sees through my ruse, lives in my house, and then I go to court and they say, well, you didn't intend to use this. And I say, au contraire, mon frère.
It's not about your intention.
I set up the Michael Jordan train set, and this person took it down. So I did not want to relinquish my property. I fully meant to reestablish myself.
It's not about your intention. If you're planning to do that, Mur, I would say that you should probably hire somebody to check in on the property from time to time to make sure that nobody is living there and using it. And if they are, then make some sort of action to kick them out, because otherwise you could lose it.
Yeah, but once you, again, I'm basing this off of what I know where I live. Once you try to kick someone out and they've claimed squatters' rights, I think they have between 60 to 90 days to vacate.
Yeah, but see, that's a different scenario, right? The thing that's like happening in the Delaware case is that person then gets to own the land. Like they've been there for 20 years without the owner knowing, right? And in that scenario, like the owner knows that you're there and they want you out. So it's, I don't know. Different, apples and oranges and bananas and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see how a judge would look at this and be like, they've been having goats there for a long time, so now it's theirs. Like, wait, I beg your pardon, motherfucker?
The goats mowed but see, we talked earlier about what if you destroyed it? But in this scenario, the goats probably mowed that grass, right? I mean, if that person had grass or had that property, right, and you live next to that property for 20 years, that person never visits, never mows the grass, never nothing. Right, like I would let my goats out there too. Get that grass cut, man. I don't need to be looking at that. And so that's $125,000. That's what that property was worth. 20 years of grass mowing. That's.
Now that I agree with, like that's paying for 20 years worth of maintenance that person never had to do, and could have potentially been fined by the state for not upkeeping the property in the first place. So. I mean, in this scenario, this actually seems like a pretty wholesome usage of the law. Like, it makes sense in this scenario. But, like, the scenarios you guys are talking about where, like, old Jimbo's fucking house is just being reclaimed by some twat who wants to fucking throw beer cans in the toilet for no reason. Like, this is mine now. Like, what? No.
We did a news bit on Virginia, someone who claimed squatters' rights in kind of a quasi in-law suite and sold the house as is with the squatter, and someone paid for it like $700,000. Now this is Arlington or Alexandria, Virginia, but the property value is through the roof. But yeah, someone was like, I know it's a roll of the dice, but I'm going to spend upwards of $750,000 have that
I mean,
squatter in there.
the same sort of thing happens here, right? I mean, you have buildings that have rent-controlled apartments, and you can't do anything with them or raise that rent here until that person is out or their family's out, because you can pass it along, right? So you could buy a building like that. Not any of us, but somebody who actually has some money could buy a building like that, and say like, well, I don't know, this person could live here for the next 30 years, or they could live there, and then their kid could live here. I could be holding this building, never able to renovate it, never able to raise the rent. And
thank you for exemplifying middle class in the middle class holes. We appreciate that.
always
By the
bringing
way,
the middle class in New York City.
Gotcha.
I mean, they thrive here.
By the way, it's Dream a Little Dream with both Coreys and a gentleman named Jason Robars. I don't know if you guys remember that flick.
No,
That's bullshit.
Nobody
does. It's Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Okay, there's some 40-year-old woman out there whose vagina just got moist because you mentioned the movie that she probably lost her finger virginity to. So yeah, but that's the only one.
If you're out there, reach out to me. TickleOurTummies@gmail.com. I want to talk to you.
With that finger. And finally, wrapping up, asking for a friend. This one I find particularly fascinating. The Idaho Supreme Court has vacated what?
I just picture the Idaho Supreme Court in downtown Boise, and it's like 3 steps to, I don't know, some sort of single bedroom apartment that's probably rent controlled by squatters. Sorry.
And he doesn't have a gavel. He has a potato. He just slams on it.
Yeah, a dry-aged mortar-rocked potato that he bangs against another potato.
Man, you know what? I'll say this because there's no way in hell I'm ever going to have to argue a case in front of the Idaho Supreme Court. But
okay.
I just Googled what that building looks like. Man, that is the most boring, highest court of the whole state building I think I could ever imagine. It's just a box. It's a box with a couple little windows in the front.
Well, the Idaho Supreme Court, ruling with a potato from a box, has vacated a man's conviction for felony drug possession and delivery after it ruled that a police drug-sniffing dog trespassed and conducted an illegal search by putting its paws on the vehicle, prompting the search that led to his arrest. The court issued the decision with 3 of the 5 justices in agreement and 2 dissenting. The case centered on a 2019 arrest of Kirby Dorf, who should be arrested for having the name Kirby Dorf. According to court documents, the officer said that Dorf was stopped by a patrol officer in Mountain Home, which is a town, after Dorf drove across lanes of traffic without using a turn signal. A second officer arrived with a police canine dog named Nero, who was trained to detect illegal drugs. While Dorf explained to the officers that he didn't have a valid driver's license or proof of insurance, Nero began sniffing around the car. Police body cam footage showed the dog jumping up against the car multiple times, including once when his paws rested on the driver's side door and window as he sniffed the upper seams of the car. So, the court ruled that this was an illegal action. It was trespassing. The dog was not allowed to be on the man's private property, even though they were doing a search. Adam, what is your legal breakdown of this? Do you agree with the judges? Disagree? What's your take on trespassing with canines?
You know what I do for you guys, because I love you guys so much? I read the entire 19-page opinion. Yeah, I did.
Oh, my God. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't act like we're the only reason. You know your little geeky lawyer, antennae were
just about 10 minutes ago, you said honking laws in New York was fascinating. All right. So you may have found this equally as fascinating.
I was gonna try and refute you there, but I think Wes just I had no comeback for that one. Oh,
Perry Mason your ass right there.
We're going to send you to the Supreme Court in Idaho. Get to the bottom of things.
Oh, man. All right. So this one is not as fascinating as honking laws, but just a step below. Just a step below.
All right.
It all comes down to a legal term called intermeddling. right? Whether or not the dog intermeddles with the car. And what the fuck is intermeddle? So basically, it comes down to whether the dog has trespassed on your car. See, now you would think, all right, well, if the dog, obviously is in the car, right? That's a search. He's breached the car. Right?
Yeah, window down, dog jumps in.
Yeah, or even if the dog his nose in the car, something like that, or even his paws, he's breached that sort of barrier around the car. So the what it really comes down to is whether or not the dog has trespassed on the car, which I found kind of odd, because I would just think, all right, well, the idea is that you don't want to let the dog get a sniff of what's in the car, anything he wouldn't get by just being able to walk around and smell, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they said he intermeddled with the car by touching and getting up on the window, like on the edge. I know they did. So it all came down to that, whether he, got up on the car.
Yeah. This could go down the slippery slope of a much larger discussion, because probably around 10 years ago, I started doing some way too many rabbit hole YouTube / forums about false alarms or false alerts, where canine are like, okay, we're going to run the canine around. And apparently, again, I don't, this goes by state to state. I don't know if this is, across the board, but they're only supposed to point and have them sniff around outside of the car. And anytime they get them excited or have them do this, or like, hey, up here, what do you smell, buddy? And he alerted, he sat there, he barked. It's like a false alert. And some undercover former police officer, Illinois State police officer, did an undercover study and found that 53% of alerts were false alerts in the greater Chicago area. Now, I think the Chicago PD press, lead said something along the lines of you can get remnants. There could, if someone had recently smoked marijuana in the car, or there was some shake on the floor or something like that, that could alert the officer. And then I guess they refuted and said, or rebutted and said, there is a margin of error. We had accounted for that 53, and it's not much above or below that. So, and then again, down the rabbit hole, Australia was even worse. These false alerts, it came back 70 to 75%.
Well, I do think a lot of times that the officers have a hunch, and you and I don't know what the alert for the dog is. Some dogs it's different too. I think some dogs they sit down, some dogs they stand at attention, and I don't know what that alert's going to be. But the officer probably has a hunch. I know this guy's dirty, or at least they think they have a hunch. And they use the dog's alerting to something. Do you mind if we search your vehicle? And then they get in there, and then they get to go around.
That's your point. Explain to me, what was his? Did he wag his tail? Did he fart twice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I think that the cops use the dogs to get what they want to do done in the first place. But I think in this scenario, he was in the car explaining that he had an expired license, and in the meantime, old Nero, the Wonder Pooch, is out there diving onto his car. So before he even had the opportunity to either accept or deny a search of the vehicle, the dog had already, quote unquote, trespassed upon his property. And that's probably why this guy got off in this particular situation. But do you think this is a slippery slope for all people who get their cars searched by canines?
In what way?
And the way that, he trespassed. You feel like every fucking Yahoo on 420 is going to be rolling around town that dog trespassed on my car. And then that everybody can get away with it because, there's a case that's been...
The Idaho Supreme Court set the precedent for the rest of the country.
Well, especially in this day and age, I don't think so because, from reading the opinion, it talks about the body camera footage from, the police body camera. So, I mean, you would definitely see a lot of that. And they've always, when they have an issue like this, where you're trying to suppress evidence because of an illegal search, they have a hearing on that, right? The judge questions the police officers, he questions, the defendant, and all that, and then makes a determination based off of the testimony, and sometimes he or she has to make a judgment call on, I
The
guess.
validity of the search.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the facts. They got to make a factual determination. So there are, I guess, things that would stop this from being abusive in any way. And I think you want to protect. I mean, as Wes pointed out, right? I mean, how many false alerts there are. If you get a dog up there and you've got him up there, up in the window and jumping up, yeah, you can. I'm sure that dog is going to give an alert more likely, right, than if you have that dog just walking around the car smelling, right?
I got a bunch
that's
of milk
common
bones
sense.
in the passenger side for my dog.
There's no way the dog smelled my weed. I keep it up in the sunroof.
Let me ask you this: with this transition of legalities, and I'm using marijuana as a baseline, and then I currently live in a state where it's legal, and then it's the whole medical card is going to be totally withdrawal here soon. And I know that it varies from state to state. I know some of the more conservative states are a little slower on the uptake, but at least in my humble opinion, the transition is going to be inevitable. Do you foresee situations where a dog is alerted to weed, and then they find other drugs?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that happens all the time. I would hope that as we get on in years, that we'll stop teaching our dogs to search for weed, because that's kind of useless, right? Teach them to search for something useful. So,
Right.
I don't know. That's all.
Yeah, no, I've been watching. I started binge watching, I don't know what it is. It's like airport narcs, basically. Like they're trying to get drug traffickers and catch them. And no, they talk about the dogs well, we used to train them for this, but now we train them for this. Like they can pretty quickly get the dogs learn that we don't care about that smell anymore, and they can move on. So yeah, the dogs don't know what they're smelling. They just know they're smelling something that gets them a treat. And if we just teach them, they don't get a treat anymore for that particular smell, they'll move on. So yeah, but that's all I've got. That is you're asking for a friend.
Well, listen, man, where is the Supreme Court of Idaho? Was Boise?
I imagine. I didn't look that up.
I've been to an Applebee's in Boise, right off the highway, so I have to assume it can't be too far away. It was a good one.
Actually, I think it's in the back room at the Applebee's.
You want to get rowdy and rough here? We'll take you to the back to beat me up. No, for fucking court. Got a judge on hand here. He's the chef, but he'll slip out of the apron and put on his robe and get ready for a fucking trial. All right. Get
the potato.
You know what? It's even funny. I'm on their website now, and they have a picture of a sort of a drawing of a courthouse at the top banner of their website, and it's not their actual courthouse. It's a very nice one up in the photo. They don't even put their real courthouse on their website. They draw some courthouse that looks like, this one looks like. So put that one up there. We don't want to see. We want people to see what our actual courthouse looks like.
This is what we hope for. All right. Mr. Murr, expand our minds. Give us some facts. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me.
All right. I'm very happy that our legal counsel will be sticking around for 5 fun facts for you fuckers on a Friday, brought to you, of course, by our great friends over at the Shin Splints Recovery Group. You can find them on Facebook. If you have any pain below the knee and above the ankle, find the Shin Splints. What's it called, Wes? I've even forgotten now. It's the Shin Splints.
SSRG, Shin Splints Recovery Group, man.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't get it wrong. The one I always mess up is our new friends over at Flat Earth Science, Advocates for Truth. Adam, have you joined the Flat Earth Science Advocates for Truth group?
I think my membership is pending right now.
They must have some they must have some knowledge on you. You must be too much of a skeptic. You're not accepting of.
Well, for those of you out there that are skeptics, Elon Musk officially launched his Starship rocket today, the largest rocket ever launched from the planet. Earth the globe of Earth, or is it because it actually got high enough to where it started to tumble and topple and then exploded? Why? My theory is it hit the dome and it couldn't actually escape. That's why it exploded.
Not only is Earth flat, we're also in some sort of quasi Truman Show. Huh.
Yes. Where have you been?
Not reading enough, I suppose.
Tell you what, Wes, you need to head on over to the Flat Earth Science Advocate
I've been trying to heal these shin
Facebook
splints.
page.
One thing at a time there, amigo.
Let's get to it. 5 fun facts. Let's get to your first amazing fact. Did you know Giggle Smoke, Goof Butts, and Muggles were all popular nicknames for marijuana and or marijuana cigarettes during the early 20th century?
Giggle Butts, Muff Smut, and Toodle Duts. Bring them back. Bring them back.
I like Muff Smut. Muff Smut,
That's
something
Muppet,
else.
Muppet Smut.
No, is it Muggles though? Muggles is a Harry Potter thing. You know, that's
Yeah, it makes me wonder if old J.K. Rowling was, maybe on the devil's lettuce when she came up with that little
You need some
storyline.
inspiration, man. You need some inspiration. Now, were these bad connotations? Were these like labeled or titled or coined to be kind of, I mean, I'm assuming anything from that era gives weed a bad name, right?
Yeah, well, I figured these were all terms used at the Idaho Supreme Court during cases like, Mr. Banks was on the
I
Giggle
bet you they
Smoke.
could make a pretty nice little bowl out of a potato, right? You drill a hole and
Right.
That's true.
How dare you desecrate
it's like
the
the
honorable
apple seed one
potato?
or the apple one.
Yeah.
Officer Jameson, why did you bring this man to court today? Well, I found some goof butts underneath his steering
The
wheel.
ingenuity they use with this potato is actually quite incredible. Can't say.
It's amazing how they got all these southern sheriffs up there in Idaho. These 2 southern sheriffs.
Very my cousin Vinny, and I'm in Boise, Idaho. Yeah.
Well, these muggles were high on the devil's lettuce. That's your 420 fact of the day, by the way. Did you know? In 1964, when he was just 17 years old, a pre-famed David Bowie, who was still known and introduced as David Jones, was interviewed on the BBC program Tonight as the founder of the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Long-Haired Men.
Jesus. That's even then. That's grasping at a very niche group.
Yeah.
Well, you had the hippie movement going on here in the States, and then you had kind of like Beatlemania that was taking place, and then guys started growing their hair long, and my lord, we were gender bending. We were starting to bend the genders all the way back then, and David Bowie had to speak up for the rights of the long-haired hippie people so they didn't get beat up in the streets.
I mean, David Jones isn't a bad name. I'm not saying that's a rock star name. I'm not saying that's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame name. But when did it become, this just isn't enough? I need something to get me over that hump.
The Monkees.
Monkeys?
Davy Jones.
Monkeys
who was the
called him that?
Hey, we're the Monkees. People say we monkey around. The lead singer was Davy Jones. So when David Bowie started to become a rock and roll front man, he couldn't exactly go by the same name as
It's like
the
a
guy
Michael
who was
Keaton
already
situation.
What's that?
Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, and Michael J. Fox's real name is Michael A. Fox. There was already a Michael A. Fox, and so he's like, well, J rhymes with A, so I'll just do that. That was it.
But it's his long-haired advocacy. And there's actually a really good. There's an interview from, I want to say it's like 1997-ish, where someone's asking him, and God knows how they went down this rabbit hole of an interview, but they asked him. Bowie's one of those guys. Yeah, he was a rock and roll Hall of Famer, but I think he was also quite enlightened on a lot of things. Not an expert, but
Sure.
The guy stayed in shape his entire life. Red was a Buddhist, et cetera, et cetera. But he gave a pretty good prediction about what he thought was going to become of the internet. And they what did he pass away, like 7 years ago?
See, yeah, it doesn't seem that long.
They
but
were
yeah, it probably
playing
has been.
that, kind of as a tribute to when he passed away. And his words on what the internet was then in 1997, 1998, and what it will become are quite haunting / enlightening. Just put it that way.
Yeah. No, he wasn't a dumb guy. I mean, you can't stay in the public
I get
limelight
that,
for like
but
50 years if you're...
Listen, I'm not saying it was Nostradamus like prediction, but it was, for, like I said, he's not a lay person, but for someone in his position to predict the way it was going to become is like, wow, holy shit, that's wild.
Adam, have you guys had any in the legal realm? Have you guys had any run-ins with the whole Chat GPT thing? Like people like coming up with statements or cases based on what the AI would tell them to say?
It's a pretty big thing in the legal community right now. Well, they had a
Really?
Chat GPT that was going to serve as somebody's traffic lawyer and represent them in court. And I think it was in California, and the Bar Association filed a lawsuit, got it shut down, so it didn't happen. But
They raised the bar.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that it's going to be. I mean, it could be used to draft pleadings and papers. I mean, just sort of I want to say like boilerplate, or even just like a little more than boilerplate sort of documents. But maybe the bar associations could get laws enacted that say that they can't be drafted by a computer, and it has to be done by a person. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out over the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, because like what you guys deal in is so dense and complex. Like I feel like an AI supercomputer could probably go through all the legal statutes a lot quicker than you guys.
Yeah.
They passed the bar exam. One of them passed the bar exam.
Give them
Wow.
a public defender or what you're talking about here. I mean, hey.
What is love? What is a law?
Resorting back to Idaho Supreme Court case 44322.
What is
The
trespassing?
public defender's like, oh, I had no idea.
Did you know? Since 1932, every incarnation of Yankee Stadium, which originally opened 100 years ago today, has included a version of Monument Park, a mini museum meant to honor the great names of the franchise's history. While it's fenced off now, the monuments themselves were once a part of the open center field, around 460 feet from home plate, and balls would often bounce off the memorial plaques, which remained in play.
Goddamn well I knew this. Come on. Yeah.
I know you did. But the layman person, it did not. Now, I feel like I remember this. Like, before they knocked down old Yankee Stadium, weren't they right out there on the center field
they
wall?
were past the center field wall prior to knocking it down. Yeah, so you had your center field wall. Monument Park sat a little...
I think there was the bullpen. Or there was like a bullpen there.
There's bullpen, but then Monument Park was like just left of center field. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like dead center. And in the original version of it, it was like 460 feet or something like that. So yeah, I mean, you got some balls that bounced off of it, but they kind of thought, no one's hitting it out here. And then these guys started drinking more beer and smoking more cigarettes and fucking blasting them way the fuck out there. Tiger Stadium had a flagpole in center field, like right on the warning track until they tore that sucker down in like 1999. A couple of oddities like that.
Yeah, the Polo Grounds. What was I looking at the other day? I think I was reading The Natural. Right? Have you guys ever read the book? By the way, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I read it in picture form.
Anywho, I was reading The Natural a couple weeks ago, and the Polo Grounds, like the dimensions of it. If you look at like it had like a 440-foot right field, or like a 425-foot left, and then the center was. I mean, it was crazy. Just like some of the dimensions of the old
Yeah.
ballparks.
You look at I'm getting it really nerdy with you, Mel Ott, who was a first baseman outfielder for the old New York Giants, and great baseball player, Hall of Famer nonetheless. But you look at some of his home run numbers, and any historian always writes he had a 250-foot line to right field. No wonder the guy hit fucking 500 some odd home runs. I mean. Yeah. Jesus. Now, it is what it is. There's a few other guys that benefited. Sam Musial benefited from a short right field porch in Old Bush. A couple of old Phillies. So,
Well, before we get too nerdy, just a simple yes or no. Pitch clock. You guys liking it? Yes or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Adam?
Yes. I'm not speaking for Adam. I heard him say yeah.
Yeah, no, this baseball season has been
I thought
wondrous to watch.
I thought I was going to piss and moan about the shifts and the bases, and I'll be honest with you, I wish it wasn't what it was, but I like what I see.
Yes, 100%. I don't like the Ghost Runner
I
at
do
second.
agree with that.
For some reason,
I would prefer
but
if they got
either
rid
way.
of that
All right,
and made it if it's still tied after 12 innings in regular season, it's a tie.
Yeah,
You get 3 innings to duke it out, and then postseason you can play as long as you want.
Okay, fair enough. I'd like the Ghost Runner at first.
Okay.
I think that's my bitch. I would just move him over one base. I think second's too easy to score from because you can do that on a single to right field if you got a fast guy, which you're obviously going to put a fast guy in if you got a fucking Ghost Runner. So anyway,
you can't just pick.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right, we're all learning together here. Just like this next fact. Did you know? Oh, Skamania County, Washington is officially a Sasquatch refuge.
Do the Sasquatches know that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would, there may not be as intelligent as us, but, if they can, read the signs, like, the guy walking like that, like over here, like they're going to walk over there, I feel.
Yeah. They determined this in the Olympia Supreme Court. or excuse me, Washington State Supreme Court, located in Olympia. Saskatchewan County is a what the hell's the county's name? Peacock County is a
properly anyway.
Is a Sasquatch hide and seek refuge. They play the best hide and seek known to man or Sasquatch alike.
I only picked that one to watch Wes's eyes roll. And finally, did you know in Iceland, a euphemism for going number 2 can roughly be translated as playing chess with the Pope?
Wow.
That's do you have any origin? You got nothing.
I've got
this.
nothing.
Nothing where they came from.
Nothing on this. I mean, I read this one earlier, and I was trying to explain to Maria, like, hey, you know how like you say taking the kids to the pool? She's like, what? I was like, you never heard that? I was like, it's like you're giving birth, and then you drop them in the pool. You're taking the kids to the pool. So that makes sense. Playing chess with the Pope. I don't know how that makes sense. I would love, if I had one interview question for an Icelander, it would be, how do you play chess with the Pope? And then they would probably giggle in some fucking Viking, and then they would say, I don't know.
If I had one question for the Pope, I'd be like, hey, did you know in Iceland they refer to taking a shit as playing chess with you? What do you make of that?
Or I would like to start a meme that only Icelanders would get where a Viking is playing chess with the Pope.
It's obviously checkmate with the bishop. Look at that. Get in there.
And that, my friends, is your fun fact.
Alrighty. Look. We have, it's not necessarily a dealer's choice. It's going to be a player's choice before you go segment. Is an eagle who is trying to hatch a rock gets an egglet of his own, or Netflix shuts down its original DVD by mail business, end of an era. What do you guys want to hear?
Okay. I vote for the eagle.
All right, so Murphy, the 31-year-old male bald eagle at the World Bird Sanctuary in Valley Park, Missouri, started gaining fans last month after a now viral tweet from a visitor showed him sitting on the ground in his enclosure. Near him was a sign assured onlookers Murphy was okay, just a little confused. Quote, Murphy is not hurt, sick, or otherwise distressed, the sign said. He had built a nest on the ground and is very carefully incubating a rock. We wish him the best of luck. So old Murph ate a rock and then shat it out and thought it was an egg. I don't know.
And wait, hold on.
Let's
The
see
story continues, though. What did they do for Murphy? They gave him an eaglet. They gave him an eaglet of his own to raise. So they tricked this bird into thinking that the rock he was sitting on was an egg that had hatched, and then they gave him a fucking eaglet. And I am 100% against this, because this goes against everything evolution has ever been designed to fucking, like, weed out. And that's the Murphys of the eagle world. Adam, do you concur?
Yeah. I don't. This is like giving trophies to the kids. Everybody, right? I mean, like, no, sorry, Murphy. You're not cutting it. You're not. You can't do it on your own, bud.
There's no participation trophies for the fucking the national bird. National.
No.
Okay.
America is too proud for that, right?
Or is this a sign of the American times? Is it we just go ahead? Okay, Murphy, you can have your baby bird now.
Is Murph? I'm assuming it's a female bird, or is it? Is this a sign of the times? Is he a trans bird? He doesn't gender identify.
You got to give them what they want, or else.
Where did this go? 31 years old. I wonder what that is in, let's see, bald eagle life expectancy. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like menopause. I don't know.
Years. I know, but this is okay. The Netflix story, the reason I vetoed it is because, like, yes, it's sign of the times, DVDs are dead, blah, 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 blah. But the fact that there's an eagle sitting on a rock, and you're like, oh, I feel so bad for that eagle. He'd think that rocked an egg, even though he ate the rock and he shit it out. And it's just, I get that we want to save these birds. The eagles aren't endangered anymore. Like, it's time to fucking put a bullet in Murphy's head is my point. If Murphy was living in the wild, Murphy is a mentally challenged bird that needs to be eradicated.
Murph's 31. They live in the wild. 15 to 25 years is their life expectancy. They'll do longer in captivity. So he's on borrowed time, or she. I don't know. I mean,
Sure.
Murphy, they didn't gender identify here in this he's mentally challenged, or she's mentally challenged. He ate a rock and shat it out and thought it was a kid.
He goes by
That was a fantastic bird call, by the way. That was almost as good as Wes's New York City sound effects earlier.
Hey, I'm walking here. No, okay, they did. Okay, it is a father. So even worse. They said, but hindrance hasn't stopped the 31-year-old from being an adoptive father. So even worse, this 31-year-old male bald eagle doesn't even understand that it's a male. It shat out a rock and thought it magically gave birth. It's in its twilight years, well past menopause.
I think this is a better message. I think there's a better message to this. This is this is a single man who took on a needy child, right? I mean, that's a traditional women's role. Good for Murphy.
It's like the Mandalorian.
Exactly.
But not at all.
Yeah. This is the Wild Bird Sanctuary in Valley Park, Missouri, just going ape shit over this. I'm glad there's someone who thinks that there's good from this. I know, Murray, you were like, Murray's like, yeah, dumb eagle ate a rock, shat it out, thought it was his kid. It's like, awesome, I'll read about it. By the way, when you talked about, because I got ready for both of them, when you talked about the DVD, so okay, fuck it, we're going to talk about it just a little bit. Netflix is doing away with its DVD to rent.
Yeah, they still do that. They still have that service where they send DVDs in the mail. You watch them, you send them back in the little red
Well,
envelope.
not now,
they still
right?
do that.
They're good. They're okay.
Right, that's
if
the
this
point.
is like one of those movies where I'm getting shook down by wise guys or gangsters or kind of rogue, do what they want, dance to their own beat cops who are like trying to get information out of me. You know, I'm like the peddler on the streets. You're like, oh, he's got all the information. Like, jam a gun in my face. Like, what? When's it ended? Like, it ended years ago. That ain't around no more. Legitimately gun to my head. I'd be like, God, Netflix doesn't give out fucking DVDs anymore.
Dude, I got a guy at work who actually I sent the story to because he still gets the DVDs in the mail, but he gets them in the mail. He doesn't even watch them. All he does is gets them in the mail and then he burns them and then he puts them in his DVD collection so that he has he's trying to collect. He's basically trying, if the Library of Congress ever burns down and all is lost, you can go to Rich's house because he's got every American movie ever made because Netflix sent it to him. And I sent him the story because I thought he'd be upset by it. And I talked to him today, and he goes, "You know, I'm actually kind of relieved." I said, "Why is that?" Addiction, and I can't stop.
You should ask him if he has Murphy, a bald eagle story.
What was that movie earlier, Wes?
Dream a little dream.
Dream a little dream. I looked that up. By the way, what do you think the Rotten Tomato meter?
Because
The thermometer. Ooh, I'm gonna say 27%.
Critic or audience? Wow.
Critic, I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna go like 40, 41.
6.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go audience 34.
Wes, you wanna get in on this action?
Oh. this is like a very like black sheep answer. Like, do you know how fast you were going?
I'm sorry, it was
Oh,
9. 9. I apologize. It was 9.
Well, yeah, of course. Do you know how fast you were going? I get this puppy up to a 140, going 7. The audience-ometer, let's see here, 31.
67.
Oh.
The people. It's a movie for the people.
That's that
You
diddler
got the
crowd
two
out there.
Corys.
Yeah, I know who it is for.
You got some old guy. It is not Milton Berle. You're right. Okay, forgive me. A movie that I watched when I was 7 years old. I'm a little flaky on that. I got one of the Corys. All right. God, I wish I would have noticed both Corys. Yeah. Anywho. All right, we're going to hold off on listener comments until Alan gets back next week. Alan, I hope you get sun poisoning and alcohol poisoning at the same time. You won't because you're Nicaraguan and you could probably fall asleep in a drunken stupor by the pool and wake up and be like, I feel great. Come back next week. Adam, thank you for joining us all the way from the... Did you have any questions for us? You think we covered everything legally? Think we got top to the bottom?
Oh yeah, I got my whole notepad over here. I wrote all these questions I was going to ask you guys instead of going to sleep.
Because we have all these areas of expertise that we are professionals in. But remember, you can find the Middle Class Souls on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Middle Class Souls. Just type it in, search it in.
MDL Class Souls at some of them, Middle Class Souls at others. TickleOurTummies@gmail.com. We did get an email. Keith sent it to us. We're going to hold off on that until next week. Oh, hey, I don't know if it's going to happen next week or the week after, but Airheads, good bad movie review, and we finally got a 9/11 truther who's agreed to come on the show. That's right, folks. He's going to debate the topics in the very, at least in his eyes, controversial subjects of 9/11.
I feel like this is my fault too, by the way, because this guy sent a message and then I instantly text Wes. I was like, dude, this guy's going to try to drag you into the 9/11 Deepwater. Don't take the bait. And then 3 hours later, here we go. It's nonstop fucking private messages. And then I finally jump in like, look, dude, if you want to talk about it, we do a show every goddamn Thursday.
I had to Facebook video message him personally from my own account in order to convince him that I wasn't a government agent. And then immediately he goes like, oh yeah, I knew. I thought you weren't a government agent. I was like, the whole time you were calling me a fucking gun. Christ.
I'm going to tune in for that one.
Oh, really? All right. Thanks. Someone who we have on as a guest the most. You pick and choose when you listen. I appreciate that. You just admitted it. I'm going to tune in for that one.
No, it's like the fight this Saturday, right? The fight this Saturday is going to be a good fight. I'm going to pay for that one. That show coming up of yours. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be watching that one.
All right. Well, if you got any good tips, let us know. All right.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Well, wait. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy something. Whatever.
Thanks, fellas.
Enjoy yourselves.